It is 7 o'clock. We will call to order the regular meeting of the Meridian Library Board of Trustees. It is Wednesday, October 19th. Destiny, can you hear us?
I can.
Fantastic. I'm going to back up a little. All right, well, we begin with item number 1 on our agenda, public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and we will have a maximum of 15 minutes for public comment this evening. David McLeod, please step to the podium and speak into the mic. Who's starting the time?
I've been coming to your meetings on a fairly regular basis for about a year now. I've tried in my own way to share with you my perspective about some of the questionable material that is freely available to our children. However, my concern and the concerns of so many Meridian parents have obviously fallen on deaf ears. We have tried to work with you and the library staff directly to come to a mutually acceptable solution to the free access of sexually explicit materials to minors. And every one of our suggestions has been met with cold refusal. Now tonight, for the second month in a row, you have restricted public comment to a maximum of 15 minutes. I wonder why that is. Could it be that you have no interest in hearing from the people who actually pay the taxes that allow you to operate? Could it be that you are afraid to hear us or engage with us in a cooperative and collaborative manner? Are we to expect, starting next month, you will shut off public testimony altogether? It's a strange thing, though. You didn't seem to have any problem opening up the meeting to the entire freak show that appeared here 2 months ago. We had to listen to the insane rantings of leftist ideologues for about 2.5 hours. I, for one, am wondering where all those people came from. It was pretty clear that they weren't Meridian residents, so they really had no business being here in the first place. I'm just wondering who on the Board of Trustees put out the call to have all the LGBTQIA plus minus ampersand tilde followers and supporters come here and claim that we're trying to ban books. And of course, with the full left-wing press in attendance as well. Could it be, Madam Chair, that you yourself invited these people to come here because you knew that they would provide you with emotional support? Here's another curious point for everyone to consider. When 2 seats were recently open on this board, several of us submitted applications to fill those seats. None of us, not one, received even the time of day from you. I suspect that you summarily dismissed us because of our presence here at these meetings. But you can always claim that we weren't qualified, can't you? Well, in one sense, you're right. We are not qualified to serve as progressive, liberal, or Marxist ideologues on your board. That's because we love this country and the people in it and will do whatever it takes to make America great again. The guiding principles on your website appear to use phrases and wording that come directly from the American Library Association declarations. I've got news for you. You do not answer to the ALA or any other organization outside of the state of Idaho. You have a charter that was granted to you by Ada County representatives on behalf of the citizens of Meridian. You answer to the citizens
20
of
seconds.
Meridian. I can see the clock, Madam Chair. Please don't interrupt. I think it's high time that every member of this board wake up to the realization that we will be heard one way or another. Furthermore, I can assure you that since you have clearly demonstrated your total disdain for the people you supposedly work for, your days as board members are surely numbered.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
My invitation
The next
to
person
all
on the
of you
list is
to
D.
step down from the board immediately, without delay.
Mr. McLeod. Mr. McLeod.
You might still have.
Sit down.
You interrupted me, I took extra time.
As I made clear, the time is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. No exceptions will be made. Furthermore, members of the audience may sit in silence and observe the meeting. You will not disrupt the meeting.
Oh, so now he's speaking to me directly, saying, how dare I? Keep your comments to yourself.
The next person on the list is D. Ma'am, could you state your full name for the record, please?
My name is Dee. My favorite people in this world call me Gaga, mother and friend. So to you, you can call me Gaga, mama, friend, or Dee. Okay. I'm here tonight because I come here for my children, for my grandchildren. for everyone's children here, okay? We've asked you and talked to you about the sexual explicit material that you have. And I heard from you that you've now put it in the parent-teacher aisle. Well, parent-teacher aisle is still in the kids section out there. For the record, I have a degree in psychology. I know what it's like for children, okay? Their frontal lobes are not developed until 24 years of age. The frontal lobe is sexual, the sexual part of their brain. It's the memory part of their brain, the reasoning part of their brain. And so therefore, who are you or any parent out there that's going to give them sexual material? I can tell you that if you're making it available to these children and shoving it down their throat like we're seeing out there, they're going to become sexual deviants. I work with it, I'm telling you. I'm not gonna ask you to pick up the book. I am not. Right now, I'm just upset that something hasn't been done. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm not going to compromise with sin. I won't. I want these books out of this library. You've been given enough chances to do something. And I'm not going to back down. I won't. I'll go to whatever degree it's going to take to get these books removed from this library. Our children, your children, everybody's children have a right to a normal life. My grandkids, they're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. They're worrying about writing their names. They don't care about sexual explicit material. They could care less. So it's your responsibility to us as the public to do something with this material, because I'm telling you, we're not backing down. No way are we backing down. And madam, I don't know.
20
your
seconds.
name. I can see the box here, but I don't know your name, but you are one rude person, very rude. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call you on it because you have no right to do that, okay? So thank you very much for.
Thank you. Phil Reynolds.
Well, I don't have any nice words to say. All of you up there are disgusting. In my opinion, you're all child abusers. And if I had it my way, every single one of you would do life in prison with no possibility of parole for the abuse of children. And I got to tell you, it's my mission to make that happen. You people are disgusting. You know you're disgusting when you give books to children that are designed in cartoon format with explicit sex. They're not educational books for doctors or potential doctors coming in here to, or teenagers that may want to learn about sex and they have some questions. No, these are cartoons for young children that are getting picked up by 5-year-olds. And you just sit there, you laugh, you turn your head when somebody's talking. You know better. You know better, and you're disgusting. And you know something, we're not going away. Our numbers are growing. Your days are numbered. And it's going to be our mission to make sure when you're off of this board, that this garbage follows you for the rest of your life. And you, young man, as the library director, you may want to quit now, because we're going to push for everybody up there to be behind bars as child abusers. And when you're fired after they all get removed, this is going to follow you in your career. And you're young. You've got a long time ahead of you, working years, and it's going to follow you. As far as I'm concerned, you should all be labeled as sexual abusers and have to register for the rest of your life. You're all disgusting. You're perverts. You're purveying this pornography, sexually graphic material on children, and you know it. And you're sitting there with your smug face. You're disgusting. I'll give up my time to somebody else.
Rachel Mills.
I am a mom of several children, 4 children, and my experience in the library happened probably 10 years ago. And I picked my kids, were little then, and they would, go through the kids section, and it was great fun for them. We would come here every Friday. That was our great way to start the weekend, and we loved it. Until this one day we found a book, which it wasn't even as graphic as what we're talking about. But it was not appropriate. It was sexual in content, explaining the process for kids. Why? Why do they need to know that? They don't. They're innocent. Let them have their innocence. Let them have their childhood. I was preyed on as a child, and it scars you. You can't unsee these things. Please, I am asking you as a mom of kids, please take these out of the area where my kids can access them. It's not appropriate, and I don't want them to have access to it. I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Mike Lewis.
I'm here to call for your resignation, Megan Larson, Laura Knutson, Jeff Kohler. You guys need to step down. I am going to file a recall on you three. Josh, what did it cost, 500 or 1,000 to get on the board that you donated? You don't want to comment now to the public?
This is not a question and answer session. You may
I know
make
it
your
is, but since
comments.
he's
No,
addressing
sir.
the
No,
comment-
sir.
Oh, so
You may make your comments.
tomorrow, I'm gonna go file for you first and then you two. If you guys want to waste our taxpayer money, go ahead, but I am going to recall you. Nick, as soon as the recall's done and they're removed, I am going to personally have you fired.
You go sit quietly.
We're the boss.
Audra Daly, can I have the next sheet? Thanks. That's it. Okay.
Hello, I'm also a mother and a grandmother. I have a baby girl that's in kindergarten this year. We too came to the library every Friday when my kids were younger. That's what we did. In addition to being a mother, I'm a nurse. I've worked inpatient mental health for decades. I thought I'd seen it all and heard it all until I saw the book that these gentlemen were speaking of. A cartoon book with graphic sexual content. Who on earth thinks that is okay for a child to see? Why? That has been gnawing at me for months. And today I was speaking to someone, my husband, and I said, what on earth could possess these people to believe that this is okay? These are children who are having to grow up so quickly. Why would we put that upon them? In what universe is it right to show graphic sexual activity to kids? What do we do at story hour? What kind of videos are available to them? How far is this going to go? And why? Ask yourself why. Is this what you give your children for Christmas gifts? It makes no sense. I can't see the logic behind this at all. I read through this piece of paper. I made a few notes here about mature content. How do you define that? And if you're displaying what you call mature content, I'm assuming that that is going to be directed toward a mature audience. You can't judge that. You don't know these children picking up these books. It should even be in the teen section. Why don't you have a special room that's locked? And if people want to go into that room and read this, what I consider to be trash, allow them to do that, but off limits to children. Why is that such a difficult concept to grasp? It's not a huge request. Keep it out of their reach. We don't need to harm them any more than they are being harmed by all these other things that they're exposed to. Yeah. We've got to protect them. It's our job. It's your job.
20 seconds.
I don't have anything else to say, but I do hope that you consider this, please.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2 on our agenda, the consent.
You sure dismissed us pretty quick, didn't you?
I would like to remove item 2C, the regular meeting minutes from September 21st from the
Stand everything.
consent agenda. I do have corrections to propose, so we will bring those back for our next meeting and consider them. So that leaves on our agenda, meeting minutes. Quiet.
Excuse me, if you cannot follow our code of conduct, we do have the policies in place to have you to ask you to leave for the day. So please follow the code of conduct. We are in the middle of a meeting. There are rules to the meeting. Thank you. If this is not a back and forth, I'm telling you what the code of conduct is. I can tell you right now, we will have you removed from the building if you are not able to follow our code of conduct. Thank you.
We pay the tax.
I can see it. Out of all of us, you've got compassion, I can see it in your eyes. The rest of y'all, fake. You, sir, they're touching you. They're touching you, sir. I can see it in your eyes.
Okay, consent agenda, we have our meeting minutes from August 17th. Special meeting minutes from September 7th. We have 2 policy reviews and revisions, the employee handbook addendum and volunteer policy, and job descriptions, public services librarian and youth services librarian. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda minus item 3 or C rather.
Thank you, Jeff.
I second.
Thank you, Laura. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to item number 3 on our agenda, the September 2022 financial reports. We had a detailed packet provided in our packet. And hopefully everybody has had a chance to review that. And Emma also provided a written report. Additional comments from Emma?
No comment.
Thank you. Questions from the trustees? Okay, I think we had, as we know, some changeover in the accounting finance manager position, and we had some processes that kind of hiccuped a little bit. So I would ask Laura if she would just kind of give us a description of what her role is as treasurer.
So I'm getting a little bit of that. My role as treasurer is to review the financials and then work with Emma to check, we randomly check bills. So I choose 3 charges and bills from the financials and ask that Emma substantiate those, and she does. So we started that this month. That was an ongoing process through probably about June, but with the turnover in treasurer and director, and we put that on pause until we were able to get up and running. So this month is the first month that we've done that. I also check the statement of financial position on the other financials to make sure we balance. And that's generally the process that we go through.
Thank you. Questions on that? Couple of questions. Yeah. So I'm looking at kind of last section that's in the not the balance sheet, but the budget versus actuals FY22 by class and P&L classes. So looking at the tax revenue section, is it possible there are some
The most of our extent to provide finalized financials for fiscal year 22.
Our ETA on that is about 10 business days with our audit on-site work starting October 31st.
Great, thank you. Just for the trustees, what I'm talking about there is there's about 4.6 million in tax levy collection with a $6.7 million budget, which did not seem correct since it's pretty well set, right? There's not a and then the sales tax income it was just under 3 million with a budget of 300,000. So it most likely looks like a miscode there.
Yes, Director Grove and I identified the items
Yeah.
that you spoke of as well as a few others for correction.
And then. Thank you. Other. Gotcha. The other people. Then that's posted 1.4 million.
Are looking into timing issues with our levy of that and some of the tax year things versus what actually came in, but it is another area for us to identify based on what we budgeted for.
Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda or sorry, approve the financial reports for September.
I move to approve the September 2022 financial reports.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Josh. Further comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to item number 4, the library director's report. This written report was included in our packets along with the departmental reports. Director Grove.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the director report, I recapped where a lot of my time was spent this past month, but past couple months. We received 2 public records requests. We have been in consultation with our legal counsel at Borton Lakey Law for all requests that come in, and we follow our procedures and the code as written in Idaho Code Section 74-101 through 74-126. As per Idaho Code, public records requests must pertain to a record that exists and are not a tool for answering questions. We will be having our legal counsel give a small update on public records and the legal process of public records at our next board meeting. We have had 2 in the month of September, 2 requests for reconsideration. One was for All American Boys and the other was for My Body is Growing. Those have been completed through the staff portion and will be finalized for follow-up this week. The board agenda last month did omit the public comment section. We were able to amend the meeting agenda as is laid out in Idaho Code. This was an oversight when we were creating the budget, or the budget on my mind, when we were creating the agenda. However, in Idaho statutes, that is not a required function of this body. The Meridian Fire Department did reach out to me recently. They had several complaints filed with them. I spoke with the Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention, Joe Bongiorno, to discuss the concerns that were brought to his attention, namely with the occupancy of this room. The occupancy set by the fire department for this room, just for everyone to know, is 251 people. However, we have limited that for online reservations to 100 people. That is a more comfortable number for us when we schedule this room to be booked by the public for public use. So just wanted to confirm that we were not in violation there, and we talked through that issue with them. Updates from our HR. We had 71 applicants for 7 job openings. We hired 3 internal people for position changes, and we had 4 external hires. We posted 2 job positions, and we currently have I think 3 positions open, including the executive assistant and assistant director positions, which we should be moving forward on the review and interview stage here soon. The other updates for capital projects we have on the next 2 agenda items, and then just some highlighted pieces. The mural for Unbound that was in collaboration with the City of Meridian's Art Commission was finished during Meridian Art Week. So if you have not had a chance to see that, it definitely brightens up that alleyway quite a bit. And then we're working through some grant opportunities in coordination with other libraries. And so those should be going forward. I believe the kickoff for the Creating Spaces grant will start in January. So we've finalized the paperwork on that. It's a big one with national partners. So we're working with libraries of different sizes and different populations to do similar programming. The links directors meeting, we've had a few. The biggest one is trying to figure out what our consortium agreement can be modified to, what the timeline for that is. And right now we are working with every agency's legal departments. So things are slow. And we're evaluating how we can streamline that process. We have a meeting again this week, and I'm going to propose that we hire a third-party legal counsel to coordinate with the 12 other agencies.
Excuse me, Nick. If you all need to chat with each other, could I ask you to kindly to step out into the lobby? We are conducting a meeting here, and I'm asking you not to disrupt it. If you need to chat, you're welcome to step into the lobby and return.
We do have some items with the links directors that we are working through, and we will finish those this week, namely with the courier system. One of the biggest issues for our consortium with the courier system right now is we have oversized items largely coming from other libraries that make the stacking of the courier bins incredibly difficult and decreases the efficiency of the courier system. And it's something that we're going to be looking at, and essentially the recommendation from our library, along with a few others, is going to be that if it doesn't fit into the bin and make it stackable, that we will not be circulating those to other libraries through the courier system. Doesn't mean that you can't go and check it out from Eagle and get your cake pan, but you can't send it back through the courier system when you're done making your hopefully not failed cake. And we're also seeing a large volume increase here at Cherry Lane. So we will be discussing what that looks like. So just for some context, this will be fully fleshed out in future reports for the state and for our annual report. But as of this week, let's see, as of today, we have 181,776 physical items in our collection, and we have 37,046 titles in our digital collection. At the beginning of this fiscal year, we did move away from the Hoopla ebook, e-audio, movie, music, and comic collection. Namely because we do not own the titles when we have that service. It is a, for a lack of better term, it's a rental service essentially that we set a cap on. So whenever someone would use an item from Hoopla, we would get charged a pre set amount for those. With Our overdrive collection, however, it's a different model. We buy the book, and depending on the publisher, we have it for a set amount of time or a set amount of uses. And so we are able to make the most of the collection, just like we would any physical item. And so we have increased our physical or our digital collection in overdrive, but we have also added Canopy and Canopy Kids to allow the Meridian Library users access to some movie content on that service. And we've added the comics section in overdrive to offset the loss of Hoopla. The largest problem with Hoopla was the cost of the audiobooks per use, especially if you're going on a road trip and someone would check out 10 audiobooks and only read or listened to one. We still got charged for those uses. And so it was not at this time, at least, not a good use of maximizing where we could get as many people as possible. So we have increased the amount of audiobooks we purchased on overdrive. And that's something that we'll continue to build out through the rest of this current fiscal year. So, and then in terms of circulated items, just so from October 1st of last year to September 30th of this year, we checked out 1,043,786 items, with 635,191 of those being youth books, 350,536 being adult books, and 58,059 of those being teen books. So just to kind of put that in perspective with what we're looking at with the request for reconsideration, we've had 8 this year. In the 6-year period from 2013 to 2019, we had 4 challenges. So this is meeting or matching a lot of the national trends that are seeing similar cases of this popping up in several communities. And last thing, we have a stack of these over there. We have this on our website, and each one of the board members up here has one. This is a document called a guide for parents and caregivers, and anyone who's having a hard time finding items that meet their family needs. We have helped create this so that you can find the items that you want and that you want your family to check out. So we do provide tools to help you find selection of items to meet your family's needs, and not to, we're not here to stop people from checking something out. We are here to help you find the things that meet your needs. And if you have trouble finding it, our staff are here and we have guides to help you with that as well.
Thank you, Nick. Questions for Nick?
Here.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Nick, a couple questions from the department reports. The Leisure Lane paving. How much are we responsible for? I wasn't sure from the description what our responsibility is.
Yeah, that one's interesting. So Leisure Lane is a private road. It is a private lane, so that's why it has the blue on it. We are responsible for the pavement of that private lane to the end of our property line, which is on the north side of the east parking lot. That was a lot of directional stuff, but the parking lot over there, the straight line from the fence, essentially, from the fence to the street.
So not the orthodontist? I paid that guy a lot of money.
I know, so have I. We are going to be engaging with all of the property owners that abut Leisure Lane.
Okay, it sounds like we're waiting for a bid or
yeah, we're waiting for a quote on what that'll look like, and then being able to engage all of those property owners to see if they have an interest in essentially buying in to get past what we're doing. That way it can all be done at one time, and hopefully reduce their costs as well by scale.
Thanks. And one other item on the financial reports, there was a fee for graffiti removal. Was that a big incident? Must not have been if you don't know off the top of your
I
head.
can't think of it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think it was rather minor. I think it was an after school incident.
Got it. Thank you.
Questions? So Nick, I had one in the departmental reports also, actually I have a couple. The cameras that need to be replaced. So I'm expecting this was not anticipated in the 23 budget. What kind of cost are we talking about? Do you know?
So some of it was absorbed with the budget amendment at the end of last fiscal year. So essentially we were told that we have to remove them because of the manufacturer. So we are looking at, trying to remember the number off the top of my head, but I think it was 25,000 to do a full replacement because we had to run some additional wires as well. So the cable runs tend to increase that a little bit. Oh, I'm being told 33,000. Sorry. Is about what we're looking at. And so that will include all of the new cameras, and the hardware that accompanies them.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My other question was on the computer lab. This is in the statistics part. So we talked about changing the sessions from 60-minute sessions to 4-hour sessions. Is that like an ongoing change or was it a oversight or what?
I'm still trying to understand that part myself.
Okay.
That was not something that I had been briefed on prior. So I'm trying to understand that as well.
Yeah, which I don't think it necessarily matters, but when we're trying to compare year over year statistics.
It does have an impact on our statistical outlay of computer usage numbers. So it's something that I will be working with Jason and his team on.
Okay, thanks. And then the in the statistics section, there's patron reg REG, that's new cards or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Registered patrons.
Registered patrons, gotcha. Okay. And if my math was right with the checkouts in September, I guess, it would 88,000, something like that. So we're on track for a growth year over year in checkouts. Yeah,
Yes, and
1,062,000.
once Orchard Park hits, our statistical numbers are probably going to be an outlier from the next few fiscal years, just because we anticipate high volume for the first few months of opening that branch.
Not a pent up demand. Yeah. Okay. Other questions from the trustees on the director reports or departmental reports? All right. Hearing none, then we will move on to item number 5 on our agenda. We have an Orchard Park update from Travis Porter.
All right, greetings, members of the board and Director Grove. So as mentioned before, I am Travis Porter. I am going to be the branch manager of the new Orchard Park branch. And I am going to share a slide here with you. All right. My computer's locked down, so I can't actually share my screen. So, want me to email it for you? Yeah. I'll just attach it here for you. All right, I just sent it. You should get it.
I'll get that pulled up if you want to.
Okay.
Go ahead
Sure,
and get
I'll
started.
just start. Yeah, not a problem at all. So again, I'm going to be the branch manager of the new Orchard Park branch located in North Marin, just located in the Orchard Park Shopping Plaza in basically the intersection of Linder and Chinden. This project was made possible by the plant levy that was passed in 2019 to expand services throughout Meridian. We are well underway. In fact, we're getting excitingly close to taking control of the branch. So I was just going to provide a current sort of timeline of where we're at and sort of next steps. So we completed the bid and began work in spring of 2022 to actually do what's called the tenant improvements, basically putting all the stuff in the library. So that work began at the end of March. Originally, we were hoping to have that turned over to us in September, but given construction delays in the world as it is, we had about a 2-month delay. But I do have some good news. We gained a couple of weeks back recently because some supplies that we figured weren't going to be available were. So right now, the work is scheduled to complete, and this is from the CM company, the contractors we're working with for this project, and also with Unbound. Their work should be wrapping up at the 9th of December. And then, and what we will need to do is have an occupancy inspection at that time. So once that inspection is complete, we'll be able to take over the building and start moving in bookshelves and furniture and materials and all of that kind of good stuff. So we're hoping that happens mid-December. Right now, I'm in the process of working with all our vendors where we've ordered the furniture and preparing to have that delivered once we can actually receive it. But we were lucky enough, or fortune smiled on us enough that we were able to have all of the furniture produced, but not having a delay in the fact that we had to figure out what to do with this stuff if it was waiting for us and we didn't have a place to bring it. So that's not going to be an issue. Everything's good to go there. So then our plan, it all kind of depends on once we get the building. But we're saying right now we're opening in spring of 2023, March, whether that's beginning or later March, we're not 100% sure yet until we get in. Just some recent milestones. I mentioned that we confirmed all the production of all of the furniture, the shelving, that sort of thing. Sound dampening ceiling tiles were just completed, a lot of painting and sanding. So it's really dirty over there right now. If you walk around, you'll be taking a good portion of sand out with you on your shoes, or dust out on your shoes. We do have signage on the east and south sides, including the address. That's all done. We're increasing tours to interested parties, potential donors, friends of the library, and even I'm starting to schedule staff to come and visit the library. Then we've got all our room signage is underway. We recently posted the position for the librarian, and then more staffing updates and more staffing positions will open here in the next few months into January, depending on the need and the training involved. We've been doing outreach to partners, including going into schools, doing story times, going into making connections in the high school, Rocky Mountain, and those sorts of things. And then we're also working on prototypes for the donor walls that we're actually going to produce with our Unbound lab. So using the cutters and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool that we can be able to actually do some of that production in-house as we get donors. So I was just quickly going to show pictures, because everybody loves pictures, about kind of where we are. And this is just sort of a reminder of the architect's vision of using sort of the foothills and the natural landscape for our color palette. So a lot of yellows, a lot of browns and grays, And this, I'm just going to guide you through some photos. If anybody has questions throughout this, I was just going to kind of update, show you where we are versus the architect's renderings. So here is the view from the north. This will be on the opposite side of this will be a walking plaza with retail shops still under construction. We don't have any control over that timeline. We just have control over our part of it, our building itself. The 24-hour book drop that it has the signage over it. It's prepared and ready to have once we get the sorter, ready to have the sorter installed. There's a view of the south-facing door. This is what we anticipate to be the main door, just basically because it's located closest to the parking. So I was just going to take a quick view of some of the renderings and where we're at. This is the area highlighted in pink here is where our donor wall is going to go. And if you see on the left-hand side, I've kind of laid out the library itself. So this is Chinden, this over here is Winco. This is the south entrance. So walking into the main entrance, that's where our main donor wall is going to go for recognitions of different donor award or donor recognitions. Here is an architect's rendering of sort of what that's going to look like and the medallions that we're able to produce in-house. This is a view into what we're calling the marketplace, which is sort of the main area where you'll come and see the library itself. We'll have plenty of open seating, plenty of lighting, a one singular sort of main service desk that can staff multiple people, but can have site access to pretty much most of the library. Here's another view of the same view. This is as if you're walking in the north entrance, facing Chinden, looking. This would be the service desk. As you can see, it's very dusty at the moment. A lot of tarps, but this is what we'll be looking at here is the main service point and sort of general entry to the library. We'll have the 24-hour hold access, so people are able to pick up their materials and check them out 24 hours a day using their library cards and a PIN number. So there'll be security on that. We have security in the Orchard Park itself is providing security, and we have cameras and that sort of thing. So that you'll gain access there, and it also has, you can kind of see right up in here, it also has sort of a fold down or a ramp down chain gate. So at night that will come down, so you can't access the rest of the library, but you can still come here and pick up your items. Then just a couple of views of kind of where we're at. This is the children's active play area. So a lot of play, educational toys, STEM toys, early literacy play and materials. Programming room. So it's actually a divided programming room. So it can do anything from story times, after school programs, adult programs, and then you can't see it in this rendering, but half of that is actually without carpet. So it also can be a craft room. It has a sink in there. So for a lot of the different programs that we do for all ages, we'll have access to do basically all the programs that we do in there. There's also, here's a rendering of where we are with one of our most unique fixtures. It's called our sensory room for those that has sort of sensory processing sensitivities to be able to use this room during part of our talk with the community. And we had a lot of interviews and focus groups with the community. This is one thing that we heard over and over again that people want, because something like this is only available currently in clinical settings. There's no public access sort of sensory room to serve those neurodivergent people. Here's a view of our maker space, our maker area, large conference rooms, view of the adult section and adult lounge. So, and then again, we plan this. So here's the adult section right here on the the northwest corner, and on the southeast corner is where the kids are. So that was one of the other focus things that came through our focus group, is that they wanted a quiet place and they wanted a kids place. And so the architects did a lot to realize that vision. And then just working on staff areas, offices, sorter rooms, those kinds of things. And that's sort of my tour of where we are. Does anybody have any questions?
It's from the trustees.
Okay.
So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to go out there to look, but I got a tour on Friday and it was just spectacular. I mean, I really encourage you to go out and visit if you haven't yet.
And then, yeah, we'll have a lot more of, once we get closer to opening and have stuff up there, we'll have, you know, sneak previews for the public and that sort of thing. We'll, again, a lot of this stuff will get planned once we're actually in the building. And so, all right, I'll give this back to you, Nick.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
So that brings us to item number 6 on our agenda, the South Branch update.
All right, mine is not as pretty. I'm gonna,
Not yet.
but I will get this pulled up real quick, so that we can go through the South Branch pieces and kind of talk through where we're at, where we're going, and a little bit of how we got there. I did not employ Jen to do this with me today, so I apologize, Jen, this is not pretty. Let me get back into Zoom so I can properly share. All right. All right. So to start off, I just want to show the picture of the Unbound mural because I had it in here. So if I had it here, I might as well share it. It was really fun to watch him paint this. If you didn't get a chance to see this being done, he started outlining like the lines on a Monday, or like measuring on Monday. He did like a grid line on Tuesday, and by the time I was there on Thursday, he was almost done. It was amazing how fast he did this by himself.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch it go up. And the Oktoberfest that was in Meridian, I think October 1st, it was fun to see all the people taking their pictures with it.
Yeah. Oktoberfest, I don't know, we'll have that in next month's board report, but just as a high level, that was a first time event for the Chamber of Commerce, and they had, I believe, I should remember these numbers a little bit more clearly. They had 7,100 wristbands handed out, and they anticipate they had well over 9,000 people in downtown for that October 1st event. And it's the first year that they've done that event, and they got a lot of good information and good feedback, and it's going to be really great for Unbound as Second Street is activated with those type of activities, and we are well positioned to be a central part of a lot of those downtown activities moving forward. So switching branches, South Branch. So we are in the planning phase and have been for a while now. It is one of the parts to the plant facility levy that was passed by the voters in 2019. We have a team of people working on all different pieces. I didn't have their pictures, so I used avatars. Helping us because it is complicated. Because we don't have a bond to do the build out, we have to use other financing mechanisms that are outlined in state code and allow us the ability to build upfront versus over time, which is how a levy comes in. So we have a team of people helping us with that, with the legal aspect and the financing aspect and other pieces that I'm still learning. So right now, we're at the stage of discussing some new options with our finance team based on conversations that we have had with Brighton. So where we are looking at is on the corner of Locust Grove and Lake Hazel. Make sure I got the directions right. It will be in the Pinnacle subdivision that Brighton is building out there, and it is in the commercial corner that they have on the south or the northwest corner of the Lake Hazel and Locust Grove intersection. One of the ways that we've been looking at this is using the financing tools to build the land or build the library building once the land is donated from Brighton. However, there's some other unique hurdles that are making us look at other options, and so we're looking at hopefully having Brighton build the building and then working with them to build the building and then purchasing it from them after that. So we have to agree to the terms with Brighton, make sure that we're on the same page, make sure that the legal teams are okay, the finance people are okay with how we are going to move forward, and then we'll finalize the building design. So we are looking at a 12,000 square foot building. So that will be a little bit smaller than Orchard Park, which is at 15,000, or did it creep up a little closer to 16? 16, okay. So Orchard Park's going to be a little bit bigger, but this will have a unique opportunity to be fully integrated into the brand new developments that are out there. Almost everything in that general area for the most part is new or will be new in the next, I think 10 years is the last I'd heard on the full build out there, depending on how the market works for the developers. This is roughly kitty corner from the new regional park that the city of Meridian installed a few years back, the Discovery Park. That is one of Meridian's 3 regional parks, and at full build out, that regional park will be 72 acres, I believe. So to put that in comparison, Settlers Park is 77 acres. So there are some unique ways that we'll be able to integrate with the Parks and Rec Department on program ideas as we build out this branch. This will be a relocation of the Silverstone branch once this is built out. Ideally, we are looking at being able to construct this beginning in early spring of this upcoming year, and would be eyeballing a 2024 opening, which would coincide with the Meridian Library's centennial anniversary. Happy to try and answer questions. We have meetings set up with CM Company, Brighton, Troxel Holly Troxel. There we go. I wrote that down wrong once earlier. And Piper Sandler and Stiefel. I'm still learning all the names, so.
Question, where do things stand on the financing? Last time we had this discussion, there was still the challenge of interest rates and some of that. Is that, I'm sure that's part of the discussion.
So the financing part with the interest rates, and when we met with Brian from Stiefel and Eric from Piper Sandler, that is a concern. As the interest rates continue to climb, some of our borrowing rates are not as great. Luckily, on some of the material cost, some of the building pieces are going down, but others are going the opposite direction. So the updated plan from our cost estimate from CM Company puts us in a comfortable space to be able to stay within the financing parameters. But they haven't run the full numbers on that yet. The longer this goes, the harder it gets for us, because the market is not improving for that type of financing.
Thank you.
So just to kind of jump in, I know some of us recall all the history, but we had a hang up on the design element with the developer, right? So they've got some concerns that of course we recognize is very valid, right? They're integrating with their overall development and then with their community center, for lack of a better word, itself. So we're almost a reset on the design piece for the South Branch in a way that is going to be acceptable to them, in a way that we can meet our budget. They understand the constraints that we're under, and are comfortable that they can make it happen. We would push out, in this scenario, we would push out the financing piece until after the building is constructed, right? So that puts some risk on the developer that we don't acquire the building once it's constructed. They don't seem uncomfortable with that potential risk at all. It's not our intent, of course, but that would be the kind of facts of the matter, that the financing would not come into place until they were ready to transfer the building to us. But the time is important, right? Because interest rates continue to rise. So as they rise, our dollars shrink.
There is an upside though, with that financial model, and that the further out we go, the interest on what we have in reserves is able to accrue more money on the interest rate from the what's the acronym that I'm the LGIP. I got all the letters. I'm trying to remember. That's the government pool that allows you to earn interest rate on saved finances for state agencies in Idaho. And so the more money we have there, the more interest money we can make. So the further out this goes, we do recoup costs there, but interest rates for construction kind of get us the other way. So 6 one way, half dozen the other.
Madam Chair, do we still sign a letter of intent with Brighton, even? Or are they just going to build this on our handshake, or how does that?
I don't think so. As Nick said, that we have meetings coming up with counsel for Brighton, our counsel, which is Holly Troxel, and the financing people, to kind of come together on how this deal would be structured, right? What our involvement would be, and so forth. And obviously very important for us to be involved in the design aspect and getting what we need out of the building, and them also being comfortable with it, rather than us bringing in design to them and them going, no, that's not right, and us coming back and working together collaboratively to come up with something. So once we have the bones of that deal structure, that would come back to the board for review and approval of how this would play
How the
out.
dominoes will work.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah. All of it will come back multiple times. So we're not starting over, but we're pretty
Starting
close.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's, for me coming in, it's a lot of understanding where the conversations have been previously and using them as information, but we're not completely going off of what those conversations have been, and we're going off of what the current status is with their project and with our financing, and trying to use all of the tools that we have to the best of our ability. But we will definitely be bringing this back in front of you a few times before we can go forward with anything.
That said, I think the timeline that they have now in mind is fairly aggressive.
Yeah,
And breaking
spring.
ground in the spring.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to do between now and then. So. Other questions? All right, then we'll move on to item number 7 on our agenda, the board bylaws. Nick?
So in your packet is the board bylaws. there's not an action item on this. It's just a discussion item. So with this, we just like we do with other policy reviews, this is for you to look over. With this one to make modifications, changes, change requests, and then it'll go on to the board agenda for November for approval. So not an action item this month, just really a conversation piece. And then it will be back on the agenda for approval next month, assuming any changes that have been requested have been integrated into the document.
So we last made modifications to the bylaws in July of 2021. Additional thoughts that the trustees have on the bylaws, changes to consider? Are there proposed changes from staff?
There was essentially a super minor edit, and I don't think I have that document in hand. I'm trying to go back and pull it up right now. It was almost an editing piece more than anything else.
As I'm sure the trustees are aware, much of the bylaw content is straight out of the Idaho code, such as the section on vacancies on the board. That's right out of the code. And so there's not much flexibility there. If there's no flexibility there. All right, hearing none, then this will come back to us as an action item in November, as Nick mentioned. That brings us to item number 8 on our agenda, future agenda items. Go ahead.
So I've confirmed that we'll have 2 speakers for the board meeting next month. We will have our attorney, Joe Borton, come and talk about public records request, as I mentioned earlier. And we will have Peter Bromberg from Every Library come back and present. He'll be presenting via Zoom. He last presented to the board in December, and he will be discussing a number of pertinent topics related to First Amendment and the role of the board when it comes to policies and things of that nature.
Thank you. Other items? All right. So of course, we will have continued discussion on the South Branch as that comes together. And looking over at Trustee Cummings, it reminded me of Tiny Library. We'll have a discussion about that piece as well. Kind of lessons learned, what's working, what's not, how it came together, etc. Other items? Seeing none, it is 8:08 and we are adjourned.